A little bit earlier, we spoke with Arizona Senator John McCain. As a Republican presidential candidate in 2008, he made a surprising decision that affected the race in a big way.
That historic moment is at the center of a controversial new HBO movie, Game Change.
Who all have we vetted?
Romney, Christ, Valenti, trying to vet Bloomberg.
Who can we win with?
None of them.
None of them? John, Obama just changed the entire dynamic.
It is a change year, sir. We desperately need a game-changing pick.
It was rightly noted in Denver this week that Hillary left 18 million cracks in the highest, hardest glass ceiling in America. But it turns out the women of America aren't finished yet, and we can shatter that glass ceiling once and for all.
Jay Roach is director and executive producer of Game Change. Good morning.
Good morning.
Game Change was a book about the 2008 political campaign.
That's right.
You guys selected this particular part. Why?
It was a great story. She was one of the most electrifying figures when she was announced. It was a big moment in our political history. And I wanted to know what went on in the rooms when they decided to pick her, how it felt when it went so well, and then how it felt when it stopped going so well.
Why did they select her?
I think they needed a big move. It was coming off of Obama's sudden rise in the polls, and they wanted to do something very bold.
And it was bold, Jay, because I remember she seemed to come out of nowhere. I remember in the beginning, people didn't know, is it Palin or Palin? People weren't really sure how to pronounce her name.
That's right.
And now there are reports that maybe the movie's an attempt to undermine her, that it's a conspiracy theory on your part, or the producer's part.
Sure.
And to that you say?
Not at all. We wanted to make a very compelling film that could be told well in 2 hours. The book was incredible. You could have made a number of films from it. But I've always been interested in political strategists. Our country is so polarized now. There's such an adversarial kind of approach to politics. And I wanted to be in the room when these strategists said, this is the way to answer that. This is the way to win at all costs, to crush our opponent. And it just seemed like an astonishing decision. They had to rush the vet so much. How did they get themselves into that position? What did it feel like when it worked so well again? And what was it like when she started to kind of go off the rails a little bit from their point of view? And I was very fascinated by, especially the Steve Schmidt story.
They knew nothing about her when they selected her.
They knew some about her, but in 5 days, how much can you find out? And they were also trapped by having to do it in total secrecy because of some other things that had happened with the Lieberman pick, et cetera. They couldn't go and talk to
They couldn't vet her publicly.
the normal people. They couldn't talk to her enemies, for example, and, or her husband, or people that you would normally go deep into. They weren't able to because they wanted to keep it secret. And they succeeded in keeping the secret, but they ended up with a lot more than they
What's
they
the judgment
for.
about her contribution to the defeat of John McCain? Was it a...
Yeah, I in the film, and I you know, there's debate about it even within the film, and I think there's still a debate about it. She certainly helped raise his status in the polls. There's no question. Right after the great speech she gave at the Republican convention, he jumped way up and was basically even with Obama. If it wasn't for the economy and a few other events, some of the interviews she did, I think, you know, there's an argument that she might have helped him win.
You know, it's interesting. There has been a lot of controversy from the Palin camp, but I think when you see the movie, and I did see it, you can almost feel empathy for Sarah Palin. Was there a deliberate attempt to do that?
Well,
or was that just me?
I'm glad you felt that way because we were determined to humanize her, to get past the iconography of whichever side you were on, whatever you thought about her. It was so driven by the media impression, and we felt there must be more going on under that. She was a very sympathetic person. She was at the beginning of it. She was under an incredible attack. She had a kid going off to Iraq. She had a 5-month-old baby who had Down syndrome and two daughters, one pregnant, and she's thrown onto the national stage with very little time to prepare for that.
What's the relationship today between McCain and Palin?
He's never said a negative word about her, and it's that I've found. He's very supportive of her, and as far as I can tell, she's continues to be supportive of him. I think he was grateful to her for helping him out through that campaign.
What does she think of the movie?
What is Sarah Palin?
Yes.
Well, she's come out and said that, it's not accurate. And
She uses the word fiction.
yeah, it's an incredibly well-researched movie. The guys, Halpern and Heilemann, who wrote the book, interviewed everybody. The senior guys, too. We interviewed ourselves, Danny Strong, the great screenwriter, and we did recount together. We learned to go to the sources directly. We went to the head guys who were there making the decisions.
So you feel good, Jay, about the movie?
I feel very...
and the truthfulness of the movie.
I think it's a true story.
Yeah.
I think it's a dramatization, but I think it's really compelling, and it raises all the questions I think need to be raised about our political system.
Ed Harris plays McCain.
Yeah.
And then Margulies plays Sarah Palin.
Julianne Moore.
Julianne
Yeah.
Moore, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Moore
She
plays
was
her.
amazing.
Yeah, and who plays Steve Schmidt?
Woody Harrelson.
My God.
Yeah, and
What
it's
a
three.
cast, huh?
Yeah, I will say it's
Yes,
three of my favorite actors. So you have to know we were determined to have them played by people that you would want to relate to.
But
And
weren't you knocked out by Julianne, considering how
Yeah.
most of us think of Tina Fey and Sarah
Yes.
Palin? Weren't you blown away by Julianne's
completely,
performance?
she matched in every way, and then also got the audience to connect with
Yes.
the heart of what she went through.
Did you do Recount? Was that
Yes,
so
I
you
did.
like political movies?
I have come to enjoy making political films. And look, I'm anxious about our political system, so
Yeah.
I want to make films that ask questions about how
So what
can we
is
do this better.
So what question does this ask?
I think is win at all cost. Is that the right strategy for every election? Might statesmanship, country first, really be a better guide for how it goes?
Thank you, Jay.
And he did meet the parents too, Charlie. So I mean, you've got quite a resume, Mr. Roach. Quite
you
a
very
resume.
much.
Gayle
Nicely
King
done.
premieres on HBO this Saturday.